Hey everybody, it's Matt. I'm here with another episode of the Deer and Donuts YouTube page, and today we're going to talk about optics, and particularly glassing optics, alright? You have other optics that we're not going to touch on, rifle scopes, range finders, things of that nature, that all come with their own separate considerations and caveats, and I want to give those due time, and we're going to cover those in a different video. But today it's going to be mostly about the tools you're going to use to glass up an animal and find your target at a great distance or when you got a lot of ground to cover. Okay, now when I'm talking about glassing, I'm talking about using your glass instead of boots on the ground to find your animals. Okay, you're going to get to a higher elevation, higher vantage point, and you're looking into a basin, another ridge, whatever the case may be in your scenario, and using the power of these optics to cover that ground rather than having to walk through it and try and find animals. Okay, it's a lot easier on your legs, and it's a lot easier on the human impact in the area. It's going to help you be a little bit more successful hunter. All right, there's two main types of optics you're going to use for this type of glassing. Okay, it's binoculars and spotting scopes. All right, so for me, I have found that binoculars are kind of my main tool and my go-to item for glassing. They let me be a little bit more sturdy than a spotting scope and are a little bit easier on the eye fatigue. I can cover pretty much everything from where I sit out to a few thousand yards with binoculars, okay? Once I get out to those greater distances, I might not always be able to tell the quality of the deer or exactly what animal I'm looking at, but I'm going to be able to tell at least something's there and go from there. Okay, that's when I can swap over to my spotting scope. Now, spotting scopes typically weigh a little bit more, but they are quite a bit more powerful. All right, they're going to let me really refine and fine tune the things that I'm not able to see through the binoculars. Like, hey, I can tell that's a deer, but I can't tell exactly how large the rack is or whether it has antlers, whatever the case might be. This will let me do that. All right, this will also be a great tool for getting into super far out areas. Let's say you find a basin 2 miles away. You can't cover them with your binoculars, but you don't want to hike all the way over there. You can use this, and I wouldn't suggest doing it for an all-day sit, but you can use this to kind of eliminate that area or say, yeah, that's somewhere I want to go. Now, the big drawback with spotting scopes is, like I said, they're a little bit heavier, they're a little bit harder to keep steady, and they only have the one eyepiece, all right? So whereas this, you're just kind of able to look like normal. This, you got to squint, you got to use the one eyepiece. It's a lot harder on eye strain, I find, and by the end of the day, if you try and use this all day, you'll probably have a headache, all right? The other big tool you're going to use is a tripod, all right? Super essential out west, may not be, depending on what your game is. If you're going after Midwest whitetail, turkey, something of that nature, definitely don't need a tripod. You're probably going to keep your binos in your chest pack, your backpack, whatever the case may be. You're going to pull them out, check what you need to, and then they're going back in. But if you're hunting out west and you're using these as your primary tool to find your target animal, then a tripod is worth its weight in gold. All right, for a couple of reasons. One, it lets it be a little bit more safe and secure. You're not just holding them in your hands where you can drop them, something like that. They're literally screwed into this tripod, and the only way they're getting dropped is if this whole tripod falls over. All right, and the biggest, most important reason is they are more steady. All right, if you're just holding binoculars like this, it gets hard after just a little bit, and you start to get weaves and wobbles, and it's harder to see at further distances. Whereas with this is rock steady. It's not gonna move, all right? So you can really get out a ways and not have to worry about the shakes keeping you from finding your target animal at those greater distances, okay? We're also gonna kind of go into the numbers here, all right? You'll see 18 by 56s like this, 10 by 42, 8 by 42, whatever the case may be. I kind of want to dive into those numbers and let you know what they mean. All right, they're going to mean the same thing for a spotting scope as they are a binocular. Okay, The first number, like I said, 18 by 56, that 18 is my magnification, all right? The higher the number, the more the magnification. Now you're gonna find it. Almost everything in the hunting world has trade-offs, pros and cons. Same thing here. The higher the magnification, the further you can get out and kind of accurately tell what you're looking at. But because of that, the higher the magnification, if everything else is equal, it lets in less light, which is a big deal because typically game animals are out in that first half hour of daylight and last half hour of daylight. And also, it gives you a smaller field of view. So you're looking at a smaller chunk of ground. You're going to have to do more moving to cover everything you want in your glassing area, okay? Your second number, that 18 by 56, that 56 is my objective lens. It's this lens down here, okay? Same thing, pros and cons. Typically, that bigger number is going to mean a larger binocular, a heavier binocular, and a little bit more unwieldy of a binocular. Might not work great for tree stands, ground blinds, things of that nature, but that bigger number lets in more light and gives me a larger field of view, okay? So you can kind of balance the two numbers versus what you want, all right? And it's just going to be the trade-off that you got to decide on what you want, okay? The other thing is your budget. Obviously, these Vortex Razors are very expensive binoculars. You don't potentially need that. If you're, like I said, hunting Midwest whitetail, Vortex Razor 18 by 56s are going to be incredible overkill, and you probably don't need that. You don't need the magnification, and you might be able to step down a few models and still cover the 100, 200 yards that you need just fine. All right? The big thing I want to say with budget, I think to a certain extent you get what you pay for. I had a gentleman come out with a Coues deer hunt last year. Like I said, some people in the outdoors are super, super cool. He drove 3 hours in the middle of the night just to help me glass. If you stumble across this video, you know who you are. It meant a lot, and it was super cool to see. But he put me behind his Swarovski binoculars. Swarovski binoculars are like up here. They're the upper echelon of binoculars. For what I do with Western hunting, after that, I realized I could see a lot more with higher end binoculars than I could like my mid-range Vortex Vipers. Not that those are bad binoculars, but I kind of wanted to be able to find more game, so I stepped up my binocular game. All right. The big thing I want to stress is don't wait just to get better optics. Don't hold off a season or anything like that. If all you can afford is Tasco binoculars from Walmart, get out there. You're still going to see some animals, and you're going to learn more from the experience being out there and have a great time with family and friends that you can't replace with higher end optics that you wait a year to buy, okay? The other thing is tripods. We'll talk about those real briefly. You can buy hunting specific ones. I think Vortex, Loophole, things of that nature. A lot of the optics companies make their own tripods. You don't have to get those, okay? I've had everything from an Amazon special all the way up to this. This isn't even a hunting tripod. It works great for it, but it's designed more for cameras, all right? The head, designed more for cameras. You can multi-purpose those into this, though. That's the great thing about tripods, all right? They come in all shapes and sizes, all weights, everything like that. You got to make a determination on what you want, how tall you want your tripod to be. That's the big one. Obviously, most of them are adjustable. This has twist locks. A lot of them have lever locks, something you got to decide on what you like most. But just understand that the taller you can get your tripod, it's great. It gives you a lot of flexibility. You can stand in glass, you can sit in glass, you can kneel in glass. There's a lot of different options. But the higher you get your optics off the ground, just understand the less steady this tripod is going to be. So that's going to be a decision you got to make on how high you really want to get your glass, all right? The other decision you'll have to make on tripods is the head, all right? The big two are pan heads and ball head, all right? I have a ball head right here. I don't have a pan head to show you because I don't like use them. That being said, I'm in the vast minority of hunters, I believe. The pan heads are what you typically see like on a camera, something like that. It's got a lever that comes out that you tighten and loosen, and it lets you move up and down, side to side, everything like that, okay? A lot of people like them. They're really good. Like I said, you can move them up and down. You can move them side to side. Makes it really easy to grid search the area that you're glassing and really cover it thoroughly, okay? Why I like ball heads is, just like it says, it's on a ball, okay? For me, and my preference, I found it was a little bit easier for me to be able to move around to the different areas I like to cover. I don't necessarily always do a super thorough grid. I might grid a little bit and then go back to an area that looks like it should hold deer, and then grid a little bit more and then move back to that area just to double check it. Okay, and I found this was a little bit more easy for me to do that. The nice thing about this ball head and some ball heads that you find out there is it's got a knob, lets me still pan. Okay, so I can still do the grid search. I can't do it as easily up and down, but I can still pan side to side. And like I said, I think it lets me snap to other areas I want to check a little bit easier. But that's a decision you got to make. Again, budget and your personal preference, all right? So now we're going to dive a little bit more into my system and what I like and what I don't like about the different optics I use. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over optics and what some of the numbers mean, what some of the pros and cons are, and everything like that, I want to dive into what I use individually and what I like and what I don't like about them. All right, like I said, I'm mostly a bino guy, so I'm going to talk about my Vortex Razors. All right, they're the 18x56s. I had about a week behind them in Montana, and I was pretty blown away with them. All right, they're a great system to use, and they better be for the price. Okay, so real quick, just some of the numbers. They have 194 feet field of view at 1,000 yards, so a decent size that you're going to be able to see. They definitely are a bigger binocular though, all right? They're about 8.5 inches by 6 inches and weigh 42 ounces, so they're definitely on the larger size. Talking about on the larger size, the price point is way up there also, okay? So they run about $2,000 depending on where you find them for MSRP, okay? So definitely a little bit more expensive, but in my opinion, probably worth it depending on what you're doing with your hunt. So I'll talk about the things I like about them. The big thing is the magnification, all right? At an 18 power, you can get out a ways with these, and potentially they eliminate the need for a spotting scope depending on what your hunt is and what your pack size and weight restrictions are looking like, okay? They have a larger field of view than a spotting scope and still get out to that 18 power, which is more than some spotting scopes lower end. So you might be able to get away with just these. I can tell you, I came from a 12 power, and these were night and day difference as far as what I could see going out a ways. Tom, who again you will meet in his videos, use my old 12x50 Vortex Vipers. Great binoculars, great starting point binoculars, and they might be the only binoculars you ever need. I think they're kind of a do-it-all workman binocular. But I found a grizzly bear at about 2 miles, and he was really struggling to even get on it with those 12 powers. So these are a huge advantage depending on what you're doing. All right. The other thing that I really like about them is the quality, okay? They have incredible glass. The light dispersion at low light was great. The clarity that I had at some of those farther ranges was exactly what I was looking for. And just the individual bino itself has a lot of quality, okay? From the locking individual eye diopter to a nice smooth focus. It has nice locking points in its eye relief. It's all just stuff you're looking for in a nice quality binocular. And again, at $2,000, you should be getting that type of quality, okay? I also like the weight on them, all right? The Swarovski SLC 15x56s are the exact same weight at a lower magnification. I know the Vortex Kaibabs are advertised for about the same weight, but to me, when I held them side by side, these felt lighter in my hand. I know that's a mental thing for me, but that makes a huge difference when you're going into the backcountry, feeling like your gear is a little bit lighter and getting a little bit more out of that weight than you would with some other like 15 by 56s, okay? Let's talk about the cons, the things I don't like about them. The big thing is the price. $2,000 is a lot of money, all right? It's probably more than most people's monthly mortgages. If you're looking for the best binoculars you can get, it's probably right here, okay? If you're looking for the best bang for your buck, these are not it, all right, in my opinion. I've looked through the Vortex Kaibabs. I thought for bang for your buck, they're probably a little bit better than these. I looked through my brother's Athlon Chronos. They're 15 by 56s, but they're still comparable. And again, price-wise, I thought they were a little bit more on the higher end as far as the bang for your buck scale. So the price kind of sucks on these. The nice thing is if you're doing a Western hunt and it's once every 5 years or it's once in a lifetime, a lot of times you can find shops that'll rent these to you so you don't have to absorb the cost all at once, okay? Another thing I don't like is the magnification. It's a double-edged sword. I know I had that in my pros, but it's also in my cons. If you're going out a ways, these are super nice. When I'm coos deer hunting down here, I can be looking sometimes over 1,000, 2,000 yards. Gonna be super nice for these. But you can also find deer inside of 300 yards. I can tell you inside of that range, the 18 power makes it a struggle. Your field of view is so tiny that you're really having to chew through a lot of ground and do a lot of movement to get through everything you need to glass. And my final thing is, for me individually, and I can't guarantee it's the same for everybody else, I found the eye relief and interpupillary distance, which is the distance between these two lenses, was a little finicky. I really had to tailor it in just right to get rid of any sort of black ring around my image. Once I got it locked in, super solid, super impressive. But I will say I thought they were a little bit tough to get perfectly set each time, okay? So again, that's kind of the down and dirty of what I like and what I don't like about them. I do run a bino bandit made by Alpine on these. I can't say enough good things about these for the 15 bucks they are. They block out the sunlight as you're glassing, really help with eye strain. Love them. One of the best purchases I ever made. I do run a spotting scope. It's an Athlon Ares G2 15 to 45 by 65, but I like to be honest with you guys. I don't have enough time behind that glass to really give you an honest review. So I'll save that for another day. Just going to talk about the binos today. And I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me and talking optics. It's super fun. And I hope it helps you get out there and get in the outdoors. If you like the video, just give it a like. We hope you subscribe, stick around. And you guys can also come over and visit us on Instagram at Deer and Donuts Outdoors. If you guys ever have any questions, comments, anything you want to see us try and tackle, any different gear you'd like to see reviewed, please don't hesitate to let us know.